Hi, ladies and gents, and welcome back to Scott Shaves for 2 days in a row, back to back. Not my typical, but hey, you know what? I figure I'm gonna try things a little bit different. I'm gonna be featuring the Dehaven Raid Blade Razor today. This is a self-sharpening. You can shake it. Back in the day, they used to put paste on this bottom hone here, and it would hone your blades for you or sharpen them so you could get more than one use out of them. You used to shake it kind of like this, and that shaking action back and forth is what would sharpen the said blade. But we're going to go ahead. I have this loaded up with a DE, a modified DE to fit in there, just like this. This is a Vashkod. I already got my brush, a West Coast shaving brush, loaded up with some Body Shop shaving cream. The reason I'm choosing to do this now instead of later is I just got out of the shower. I'm trying to figure out what I can do from me to try to resist myself getting cut so much. I am so used to shaving in the shower that ever since I have started filming and stuff out of the shower and just doing shaves in the middle of the night, I'm actually getting more cuts than used to. So, being I just got out of the shower, I figure I'm going to give it a try and see if that has anything to do with it. I'm using my Mako Root and Aloe Body Shop, the very first soap I ever had that my wife bought for me. So we're going to be using the Dehaven number 2 with a DE blade in it. I kind of started to use it yesterday, and I only had 1 day's growth, so keep that in mind. One thing to note is this razor itself, being it's like this, you can see this has a very steep angle of use on it. In order to get it straight, I have to almost hold it at a full 90 degrees. So they're rare. This razor, the angle of use on it is so high that it is going to lend itself to a very, very clean shave. As in, it will be very, very efficient because in order to even get it to cut, you have to be at an almost sideways, completely straight angle to the face. And to be honest with you, when you get the right angle on this thing, like I have seemed to achieve, it is really smooth. I had my reservations about this yesterday, thinking, it's probably going to be aggressive because most single edge razors that I have used are well beyond my comfort level as far as wanting to use them for shaving. This does have blade feel. I'd be lying to you if I said it didn't have any blade feel. I would compare this blade feel very similar to that of an injector. And what injector specifically? To be honest with you, I'm not one, other than, like a type F, a type E, a type D. I'm not one to know. This is a Hydro, a Lady Eversharp, very similar to the Hydro Magic with the open here for rinsing it out. And I would compare it very much like that blade feel for this razor. I'm taking my time here because the last thing I do is cut myself. I have something to do this afternoon, and it'll look silly if I go and have blood all over my face, right? So as you can see, this is a very smooth razor. It does have blade feel. I am taking my time to be sure that I do not cut myself. And the angle of use in this razor is very high. This is one that I'm thinking about doing a collab with on my buddy over on Subi Shaves, Josh, because this is the mainstay razor that is the banner for that of the surf page on Facebook. And I'll tell you, ever since I saw that banner, I was like, what is that razor, huh? I happened across a picture of it one day. Someone told me what it was, and I'll tell you what, that's all she wrote. I had to have one. And I kind of left it at that conversation yesterday that is kind of where I feel my collection's getting. But I'm at the point that I have to start getting the other brands. See, this razor, one thing about it is, typically to get here, I scallop out, but if I do that with the type of edge this is, if you scallop out your nose in a rounded shape, you are going to cut the crap out of yourself. So as you can see what I'm doing, I'm getting my nose, I'm coming in at an angle and kind of edging the corner of my nose with the corner of the razor, okay? Because the last thing I want to be doing is cutting the bejeebus out of myself. So go ahead and get here, you know, and that's another thing that just gets back to the fact that, you know, I have a my collection is now somewhere up in the words of 180. When I get everything in from everywhere, I promise to do a den tour, as in show you my razors, what they look like. There might be a video that I take a week off doing that. But what I was getting at with this type of shaving, and all the people I see starting to move to wet shaving, is the fact that, you know what? There is a razor, especially if you consider the vintage razors, there is a razor for everybody. And the thing about it is, not only is there a razor for everybody, but even lots of your old ones that take these proprietary blades, just like this one, there is a way of getting a modern blade to fit it, right? Or if you're lucky enough to have like an injector or something, they still make injector blades. They still make tons and tons of DE blades, because that's the most common question I get asked when people find out that I collect these things. They go, "Where do you get blades for those?" It's like, you kidding me? Where don't you get blades for them? Is becoming more and more question, because Amazon, right? A number of Magard razors or Razor Emporium, lots of places carry these things. And just like there is a razor for everybody, there too is a blade for everybody. My blades of choice used to be derbies. They weren't bad. I loved them. Got smooth shaves. They felt nice and smooth. And then I got exposed to Vashkods. And man, what was I missing out? So much smoother, so much sharper. Just an all-around better blade. I'm not one to say that I'm a big fan of feathers. Not to knock the people who really like the feathers. I have used them. I just can't handle them. Well, what do I think? So far, so good. It's a smooth shave. I know, the utter silence, right? I'm trying not to mow my face off here. As you see, I got myself a little bit here. Like I said, man, I don't know what it is lately, but doing it outside of the shower, I've just been macing my face off here. So, just axing it, but you know, let's go ahead and get it cleaned up, see how she looks, how she feels. There is feedback to that razor, alright? There is feedback. It is slightly mildly aggressive. Did I get the closest of shave with it? About typical for a 2-pass. I would say the Hofritz or Hofritz, however you say it, slant, I got a closer edge with. But I will say that most likely that is because of me. I have never used this razor. I was taking it rather easy and not going like super as much pressure as I could probably put on this thing. But I was trying to avoid cutting myself. So as you can see, I only got myself, that's a cut. That's just a freckle, but I got myself here and a little bit there. Nothing major. Those will be gone in just a second after I do my Kazan splash. But it's a great razor. You know, I'm glad to see more and more people coming into this. All right, and you know, one thing that I'm working on right now is I'm working on how I can get an injector into, or a DE into an injector, okay? And the reason for that is I like injectors, don't get me wrong, but what I happen to find with using injectors is that having a thicker blade on them, they seem to be a little bit not as smooth shave, you know? Maybe they are if you have the, you know, Persona Tungsten 74s and so on and so forth, of these past, you know, amazing vintage blades that I've heard so much about. But hey, let's face it, not as many of us are as fortunate to have blades that are, you know, something we can shave with 20 times and it's still good to go, right? I know a few number of people who have those razor blades, and I ain't one of them, all right? I have a fair number of vintage blades. That is one thing I'm starting to work on expanding my collection on too, is my number of blades, because I think what would be kind of cool is to have like a giant shadow box full of old blades, you know. So new old stock blades are something I'm working on expanding into, and I have currently, I don't know, somewhere in the realm of like 20 or something. So yeah, the Dehaven blade with a D in it. It's DE, modified DE. It's not too bad of a shave. It's not super aggressive. I'm not gonna go out on a limb here. You know, yesterday my first impressions were saying that maybe as far as a single edge blade, this is the sharp or the smoothest single edge blade that I have used as far as a non-DE razor. Because even with the Ronson, it is hacked. But if you look, we have 2 DE halves in this thing, okay? So this I consider somewhat of a DE razor versus an SE, like an injector or something along those lines. But unfortunately, my injector that I have, that's a Persona Floating Head 2, is yet to date, and year to date, the smoothest one-bladed razor that doesn't use a DE that I have. So this, I mean, yes, this is modified with a DE. It is smooth, it is a good shave, but it's just, so far, the Persona Floating Head 2 with the injector, and it still holds that. So, everybody, share this among your friends. Get them into wet shaving, okay? Wet shaving does one of 2 things. And the first thing about wet shaving that it does is it allows you as a person who is an own individual to express themselves through the razors they have, through the blades that they use, and best of all, the type of bowl or brush that they may type to use too. The soaps, there's so many variations of soaps between the smells, the scents, the colors, and everything, that it's just, the variation is so wide, you know, and it allows people to explore what they want, you know, customize your shape. Because what's so customizable about going and getting a Gillette Fusion Pro Glide? Everyone has it, everyone uses it. There's nothing about that that makes it something special, other than maybe the shaving cream you might use, which is, you know, one of like 15 or 20 standard ones. There's nothing unique about it. And the second thing about it is, when you get old razors like this, and you're using them, you're preserving them for the future, you're preserving them from the waste, and we're not donating a bunch of plastic back to Mother Earth, okay? Because plastic is something that we created from something that was given to us that is pretty much no way of properly recycling it. Other than a blade, there's nothing stopping me from taking this razor, handing it to any one of you to use, is there? No, there's not. I don't belong to a group that does any pass-alongs, but I do pass-alongs with a friend of mine, all right? Me and him have used pass-along now for the past few months, and it's great because I've tried. He has a lot of the more modern type DE razors, whereas I have a ton of vintage. I have a couple moderns, but most of mine are vintage. I could probably have under 10 new modern DEs. Okay, so with given that, get everyone into this. Anyone you know, even if they are not into the vintage scene but into the news, using leaf razors or a type of DE razor like me. I started with a Merkur 23C, fantastic head on that razor, really mild, super easy to use. I handed that razor to my uncle who had never shaved before. Boom, just like that, he was hooked, his razor. So what did I do for him was this Christmas, I got him a slim adjustable birth year and birth quarter to match, to go with it. And tell you what, his new favorite razor, the slim. All right. So, given all that, thank you everyone for joining me. Stay classy and have a good evening.